Is Trump going to keep tweeting about individual companies after he's inaugurated? Because so far we've gotten Boeing and Lockheed Martin to name two, and again, it rattles the stocks of those companies.
Look, I like the fact that he tweets. I like the fact that he goes out there and speaks his mind.
I'm talking about individual companies. Publicly traded individual companies. I know they do business with the government, but nevertheless, when you're moving not just markets but stocks based on one single tweet, doesn't that make you go?
Here's the thing. If he's going to stand up and fight for an American taxpayer, I think most Americans will look and say, wait a minute, how much were we looking at spending on Air Force One?
That's not my question.
No, but that is what he's doing.
It is tweeting about an individual stock where a stock falls and that causes shareholder losses. And I've criticized presidents, regardless of what party they're affiliated with. By moving markets.
He's focused on the F-35. He's focused on a presidential plane.
That's the Lockheed Martin program.
Yeah, I don't think he's criticizing the company. I'm glad he's looking out for the check we write on April 15th.
But he did say, cancel the order. And then
but to your point, this is why people have been so ticked off at Washington, because politicians give them the same blow-dried, poll-tested nonsense, and they got someone in the Oval Office who can say, you know what, this is nonsense. Yeah. If this is a bad deal, we're tearing it up.
So then the answer is yes. He's going to keep doing it. Are there rules about Secret Service that he won't tweet the way he is, or he's going to continue that dialogue with the American people?
Look, the president-elect is one of the smartest people out there. He knows exactly what he's doing, and when he's calling folks out for being bad actors or looking out for taxpayers and trying to save them money, he's going to do
Actually, that I'm sure of. Look, we got to ask you about the business conference. He was going to do a press conference about separating his business. Jason, why is he pushing that off? Because this is actually a blind spot. He's got to get this right.
Well,
he can't allow conflict of interest. He tweeted this. He said he will hand off his business to his sons, which would leave the door open, perhaps, for Ivanka to join the administration. Is his daughter planning to join the administration?
Well, we'll see. We haven't made a formal announcement regarding Ivanka yet, but obviously she's going to be very involved with what he's trying to do. But as we talk about the business conference, and you got it exactly right, we have to make sure that he gets this right as he moves away from being this world-class businessman to being the president of the United States. And quite frankly, there's a lot to go through, and this isn't like selling stock. This isn't, calling up your broker and saying unload all of your shares of whatever holdings you have. We're talking about buildings. We're talking about entire developments. We're talking about these major international projects where it takes time to go and do that right. And I think ultimately what people want, and again, they just voted for someone who's a successful businessman.
They knew what they were getting.
They knew exactly what they're getting. And you know what? They're glad that it's him and it's not some politician. So if it takes a little bit of extra time to get it right, I think people will give him that.
It can't be a blind trust, though, because he's got a business that his sons are, he's not going to, right? So it's not going to be a blind trust.
Well, and he's also said, I'll go ahead and leave it to them as far as the exact way that it's set up, and I don't want to pretend to be one of the lawyers that's working on it. Is that obviously you talk about the massive amounts of things to go through to get this right. But his focus is clearly on being president, and that's what he's working toward.
All right, we're going to take a short break, but before we go, what's the next big announcement we'll get, Jason? What role are we going to hear about next?
Well, we're moving at a pretty brisk pace right now. We're ahead of anyone else in the last 30, 40 years. There's several that we could see, but I wouldn't expect anything today. This is Rex Tillerson's
day.
About
the VA?
It's an important one, and the president-elect is making sure he gets that one right. But today, Rex Tillerson.
Yeah. All right, we will leave it there. Jason, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jason Miller joining us from the Trump, President-elect Trump's team. We'll